Okay, this is going to be a quick unboxing of the HTC U11, just released in June 2017. This is the Amazing Silver color edition. Alright, so what's interesting about the Amazing Silver is that it has a blue sort of hue to it. It's getting reflected by these flamingos with some pink, but its color is always sort of changing depending on the light that it's in. It's sort of interesting, but it's usually blue or sort of like a little bit lavender. And power adapter, and then it is equipped with the new USB standard, USB-C, which can transfer much faster and do all kinds of other things. Some little earbuds. And let's see, what are you? One of these okay, so that might just be a USB adapter. Notice the phone is on. I've actually opened it already. Just a quick look. Or it's a little bit dim because it's almost dead right now. But it's got the fingerprint scan, among many other kinds of verification methods. Well, I believe one of these is an adapter. There's no 3.5 millimeter audio jack on this. You actually use an adapter for through the USB-C, just a tiny little adapter, and it doesn't need to be. It's not a powered adapter, just a small little unit, and I think that's allowed them to save a lot of space in terms of the hardware. This phone is, aside from getting the highest marks on its camera from pretty much the most recognized third party for rating cameras, it has the best audio output. It's pretty much a tie with I don't even know how to pronounce it. I think Hawaii or the Mate phone. But it outputs at a higher amplitude, basically. So you could use this. You could legitimately like DJ a bar from just your phone. Basically, it would be able to output it at with enough. I think it's 192 kilobytes, which is generally it's a good enough quality. And it also has they put a lot of emphasis in the audio as far as just the speakers itself. If you just want to play from the phone, usually that's just a horrible tinny sort of option, but they actually left like small chambers within the phone to actually give it a little bit of bass and to round out the sound, basically. So you can, and I've tried it. It's actually about as decent as Bluetooth speakers were a couple of years ago. So I'll wrap this up once again. You can see it does, the only thing I really would fault it with so far is just the trade-off with the pearlescence here, which is just multiple layers of like glass apparently, is smudgy, as you can tell. So you have to weigh that factor, but I mean, there are 4 different colors. One is black, and I'm sure that one, the smudginess isn't as obvious. It probably looks more like this. So there you have it. And oh yeah, last thing, the picture is, I think, the 2K standard, which is like 2500 by something, more than plenty. One feature that's sort of a standout as far as just a technology spec is that the video recording, it can actually record at 120 frames per second, which with televisions is sometimes excessive, because some cinema and television shows aren't really meant to be viewed at those types of frame rates. You get sort of a odd effect where some frames are sort of created artificially, some are replicated too many times. I don't know, or geeks can get really far into that stuff, but anytime you're dealing with something that's happening in real time, like sports or just filming people in real time, 120 hertz is actually, a perk. Beyond that, it gets a little bit past what people perceive, but so yeah, I don't know that any other phones can record, and it's 1080p that it records at 120 frames a second. And that's impressive for a small little device. Yeah, I think that wraps up. One last look. You get these smudges off. And there's me, sort of. No, wait. Okay, I don't matter. This phone matters. It's my first HTC. Let's hope it's good. Hope this video helps. You can buy it at htc.com, unlocked. Comes with most the big carriers. Sprint was the only major exception. 700 or 750. Again, unlocked. You can just buy it straight up. Your financing options. If you buy through Amazon, and I think Best Buy also has a agreement as far as you can buy it through them and have a financing option. And if you go that route, then you can just do like a cheap prepaid plan, and just have it auto renew, and you have a bill under $50 and pretty much have unlimited data. Yeah, I'm not sure if anyone or who carries the phone straight up. So you'll have to check that out. So we'll wait and see, everyone. This phone is kind of like I guess experts are saying this is HTC's kind of big. It's a bit of a gamble. They went really big on this. Traditionally, they've been famous for having a metal body, and they kind of mixed up, or just changed their approach and just committed really heavily to the hardware specs and just went top tier. And the question is, do people care? I certainly took the bait. I'm interested in just a continually improved photographs, video, and audio is one thing I feel like's been neglected. So that was one thing that actually drew my attention to this phone. It's got a really neat appearance, and also so far I've been really impressed with the HTC, I guess the Android launcher, or just the whole firmware package. I've been on LG phones for 4 years now, I think, and there are a number of things that I prefer about this. And I just forgot one of the major innovations of this phone. Like, I can't believe I forgot to mention it. Haven't had a chance to test it much, but on the sides here where my middle finger is and thumb, those sides, those edges actually, it's a feature called EdgeSense. You don't actually feel it depress, but it apparently detects a certain amount of pressure. And those, by default, that'll take a picture for you to help, to make it easier to do a one-handed photo. But you can also basically configure each side or a combination of both to trigger almost any action, load a program or, that kind of thing. Any sort of action you've ever had before associated with button presses, like screenshots, things like that. I'm not sure the possibilities of the EdgeSense is whether or not it just knows if you're, true false that you're pressing it, or if it actually senses where you're pressing it and can, sense your motion across it, or I'll find out. I'm guessing not on the latter. But it's interesting. It's nice to see, a genuine innovation at this point where phones are getting pretty maxed out. At this point, I think a lot of focus, certainly for me as a user, is just the small little things that go into it's the smooth and easy user experience. Things you don't really notice until you have them, and it's up to interface designers and theorists to gradually refine these things, and part of that is the software. Like I said, I noticed just the software interface, a lot of things behaved very nicely. The tactile feedback, or haptic feedback, you press keys and things like that, you feel the little vibrate. It's very fine-tuned. I liked it as it came, as its default. And then the button placements, which I should clarify, on top there, these two are volume, that's the power in the middle. So if you have big hands, you're gonna, hold it like this, and use either these fingers to power it off. But there's a lot of different ways to unlock it, wake it up without touching this button. For example, you can have it be unlocked when you're home or at certain GPS coordinates, and give you all kinds of controls over how specific that needs to be. It has some logic built in that it knows when it's on your body, basically, when it knows it's on, and it doesn't know it's you personally, it just knows it's on a person. So that's, one that is not, and yeah, that's a cat, secure on its own. But it does not have an iris scanner, but it does have a fingerprint scanner. So I think you only need one of those. I mean, I don't know how intense you need to be about security, because you could ultimately add additionally, a pin and a pattern with the dots. So I mean, you could, in combination, those things make it, 1 in a trillion basically that someone could get in your phone. So an iris scanner is just sort of, I don't know, excessive. But it does have facial recognition, which is probably honestly the same sort of technology. Probably doesn't require, well, definitely doesn't require hardware. There's the USB-C input on the bottom, and that is where your audio would be attached. Then there's the big speaker, I believe, one is microphone and one is a speaker. And up here, if I can get this focused, yeah, we got another 2. Then the front, let's see if we can make it stay. Okay, we've got see the camera, the flash. That's I think another audio, another speaker, and okay, yeah, that's it. But yeah, as you can see how quickly it gets smudgy, but that's up to you to decide how much you care about that. Here's the camera and the flash, and this side of the phone, the left side, is completely without buttons or other features. This does have a SIM card, and let's see, it accepts a micro SD up to 256. I don't know if they say that, because that's essentially the largest micro SD cards that there are. I'm pretty sure you can buy 512s right now, and by now 1 terabytes are definitely in production, not publicly available. They may have already been announced, which is really astounding. I mean, if micro SD cards the size of your pinky nail, and I mean, I don't really know anyone other than a few crazy, like MP3 archivists, basically, that have more than a terabyte of data. I mean, I save almost everything, and I have 600 gigs, and I've been doing this, saving everything. I haven't lost data for 15 years. So you could fit, and honestly, you could use a cloud service like Dropbox or Drive or whatever Microsoft's, I don't know, OneDrive or something, I don't know. Any of those, whatever. In theory, you could have your phone have a local sync, basically, just like any of your other computers or devices that are connected to your cloud account, and have just all your files on your phone just ready to go. That's certainly appealing. For me, I'm sort of old school. I have a lot of MP3s I like to have those in addition to the streaming audio. And yeah, I definitely don't like to have to wait on those to stream or use data. I mean, that's another major consideration. So yeah, if you do go for that option, by the way, pro tip, I would copy everything onto the micro SD card from a computer first. Very few computers have micro SD, if any, but adapters. But many have, or not adapters, but just input ports. But many have SD, the standard SD card ports. SD cards are, a bit larger, like an inch by 1 inch. Little flat pieces of plastic. They actually have adapters for micro SD cards where it's shaped exactly like an SD card, but you actually slip the micro SD card into it. They're only like a few bucks, I think. So you can do that, pop that into your computer, and whatever's in your cloud, locally present on your computer, just copy it, make a clone of it to start on your micro SD and put it, exactly in a folder that you intend to be your, directory path to your, for if it's Dropbox, put it in the Dropbox folder on your SD card. And when you go to install run Dropbox, instead of having to upload/download, hundreds of gigabytes or, even just gigabytes of data, all it has to do, and this still will take a while, it'll probably spend a week working on it, is index everything and just confirm that, just build an index basically of all the files on the phone, and it will find that they are very similar, obviously, to what's your master version, as long as you're not making tons of changes to what's on your cloud during that period of time while it's syncing up. And then once you get that first sync done, then you're good to go. And you can set the I'm sure this is for any cloud account, for any cloud services app that they provide, that they have a service that will only sync over Wi-Fi. That's very important. Very important, because you may accidentally, sync like 100 gigabyte file or something over data. I don't know. That would be a nightmare. Like a video file. I don't know. Okay. This has gone far beyond just talking about the phone. The smudgy, amazing silver, but really kind of blue, slightly purple HTC U11. Okay, we're done.